Isn't it the duty of you, the opposition, because you're in your state, you stately say that the government is incapacitated and is not doing things well, so we cannot expect good things from them at the moment. Isn't it the duty of you, the opposition, to keep the government in check? Like now, look at what Malema did. Ramaphosa, there was a vote of no confidence a month ago because there was Zuma and the Gupta thing in the parliament and the opposition, they kept the government in check. Like, you did this, so we're going to put you to the box. If the government is not doing things well, there is no accountability of all these funds. You talk about the guys, the gold that is being, there's the gold mafia. We show the evidence. And you plainly know that because the government, you say it's not going to do something. Then the opposition, you have, isn't it your duty to bring them to book to say, okay, look at when Malema dies. In March, he called for a march against whatever is it ESCOM or something like that. So what are you doing to bring the government to book?
First and foremost, it is intellectually dishonest to compare the two jurisdictions. For me, it's not about individuals, but it's about the jurisdictions. The South African political jurisdiction is that of a constitutional democracy, not in theory but in practice. Whereas the Zimbabwean jurisdiction is a jurisdiction of a fascist country which has suspended the constitution, suspended the Bill of Rights. And when I say the Bill of Rights, I talk about the suspension of the freedom of speech. You know what happened to Hopewell when Hopewell commented on the Al Jazeera document. There were clear threats from government suppressing his media freedom, his freedom of speech, and you know what happened after. He posted that I'm going to Omam on the subject matter because of direct threats coming from government. You know of the July 31st killings. We called for a demonstration in response to the decay of the political in this country. It is the reason why people like Job Scala are now in prison. It is the reason why people like Jacob Ngarivume and some of us, you know that our names were flighted on ZBC, myself, Makombra Riziviche, Denford Gadzor, and so forth. We're all over the state broadcaster being hunted by the state for allegedly participating in the call for demonstrations in our country. So what you see is a jurisdiction that has suspended the constitution, the Bill of Rights, fundamental freedoms, and so forth, and a trigger-happy regime. You know that in 2018, when we went to the streets to record our displeasure against the behavior of ZEC, there was the firing of live bullets on peaceful and armed civilians. We have not seen that in South Africa. You have not seen that in the streets of Johannesburg or Cape Town. So it is naivety, in my view, with the greatest respect, to compare two jurisdictions. But that is not the issue. And then why, in the limited and difficult space, what have we done? When Parliament opened immediately, you know what happened? When we were in our previous movement, we used the Public Accounts Committee, where we had put our economic and finance sharpshooters, Honorable Gaston Mateu and the Honorable Beat, to use the Public Accounts Committee as a platform for the alternative to question power. First, soon after election, to highlight the 7 heights of corruption in this country. Before the gold mafia were highlighted before Zimbabwean citizens, that Zimbabwean money is being siphoned in pharmaceuticals, in minerals, in fuel, in agriculture. We were the first to expose the Command Agriculture scandal, then under the leadership of Parents Shir. We were in the forefront of exposing illicit financial flows under John Manguchka and the RBZ. We invited the then general manager of GNP because of the looting of money in Command Agriculture. We were in the forefront of summoning different people who are involved in corruption, NRZ and parastatals, to Parliament. So we used Parliament as a point of entry to expose corruption, to expose chicanery, and expose how corrupt this regime is. We were very instrumental in not just exposing lies, but also, secondly, to question power. This is the reason why we then had our MPs being recalled from Parliament. When we came back under the Citizen Coalition for Change, we went back to Parliament again. But we didn't only do that. When I was the leader of the Youth Assembly, the Secretary General under the commandership of Comrade Obey, we were arrested several times for demonstrating against the looting of COVID funds. We had our 3 girls abducted. They were not abducted in a prayer session. They were not abducted on Twitter. They were abducted on the ground demonstrating against Mnangagwa shooting of COVID resources. We took the risk despite that there were police bans, there was actually a lockdown rules. We defied those, went to the streets of Harare, demonstrated against Mnangagwa's regime. So we bear the scars. I have been to Group Maximum Prison. I was abducted and tortured at Zanu headquarters when we demonstrated in call for reform. Because some with the mind of a rat who think that we only demand reforms on the internet. We have gone to the streets to demand the reform of the political in this country. It led to some of us staying without a trial in Group Maximum Prison. I give some of these few incidences. Job Sikala, Akomra Rusivich, you name them. In fact, the entire rank and file of the movement has been in and out of prison for concocted charges. Why? Because we are authentic. Why? Because we are thrown in the flesh for the regime in Harare. And most importantly, some of us fear Foko. That's why Mr. Mnangagwa is always on our case.
Yes, I like it when you say that you fear Foko. I remember when you used to do those clips of fear Foko. But is it right for me to say that all the fear Foko now is now in past tense? Because as it seems like you have changed a strategy where you are more diplomatic and politically correct. You are no longer that sort of activist or what you used to be like in the past. You would call for protest, you would call for demonstration. Now all that we see is more of diplomacy engagement. We say that you have changed the strategy now?
First, let me correct that we are not diplomatic. We are not diplomat, but we have once bitten, twice shy. We have defined our central strategic objective. Our objective is to attain political power, govern differently, and change the lives of ordinary people. Our method of struggle is winning that struggle through elections. And we have defined that course, and we have defined it unequivocally. But what we have done is to starve our enemy under the banner of what we call strategic ambiguity. We deliberately starve our opponent because when you are dealing with a leadership like a guerrilla movement, you ought to operate using guerrilla tactics. We don't parrot our strategic interventions on the internet or in the public domain because we have suffered a lot of assault and delays of the democratic struggle because of celebrity politics. we believe that we have to deploy our arsenal at the strategic time when that arsenal is needed. And we have defined our course of struggle. But however, we have not discouraged against those with different approaches. So the decay of certain strategies or interventions is not because what is a struggle. A political party like CCC is just but an element of the struggle. So the decay of the political in our struggle is not because of a political party. It is the decay of the political broadly and the decay of the social fabric of a nation. Because when we were student leaders, we were never invited by President Tsvangirai. We would organize our own demonstration, do what we see fit. The labor movement would do the same and so forth. So the questions about what should be done are not just questions to a political party, are questions to a society, and society defining a course of action for that particular moment. We as a party have defined our path to power, our path to change, and the path to transformation. Why we have done that is that a peaceful transfer of power to us is the only buffer against perennial decay of society. Once we take a violent route to attain political power, it has temporary results, quick results, but permanent dangers and scars to a society. We will become entitled and say, you guys were on Twitter and Facebook and podcasts when we were being beaten. We become entitled. In short, we become an asymmetry of the very same subject we're fighting. We will become another dictatorship. But when there's a peaceful transfer of power, there will be a peaceful relinquishing of power from the same people because it's a new tradition and it's a huge cost to some of us, but it doesn't stop other people who have other means. Because what we all want is change, right? CCC has defined its path. CCC has defined its method of struggle. People can have a different approach, but we have defined our method. If it doesn't work, we also have a right to change it. That's why people have decision-making platform to say, no, comrades, this method is not working. Let's change tact. In South Africa, they made their own resolutions in 1993 that no, we are changing tact. We are now forming Umkhonto Sizwe underground program, mass mobilization to able to have freedom. So every struggle reaches a turning point and people define. We have defined the current method of struggle. If it doesn't work for the movement to achieve its central objective, we have the mandate to change tact, but we have defined how we want to attain freedom, what we think is best in terms of having freedom in our country without
Yes.
having huge cost to the body politic.